August 12th. It is 6:19 a.m. as I am recording this, and of course I am recording this because I just had an experience, a brief one, but I wanted to share it with you because it was quite significant, I will say. Anyway, let me get right into it. I was up, as I always am, in the middle of the night, keeping the hours that I keep, studying, doing other projects, and decided to go to bed at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I laid down. Storm Sounds, for those of you who are interested, was on in the background. And I was just kind of lying there. Wasn't sure if I was going to go or not. Was thinking about it. And lately my obsession has been going and seeing the edge of the galaxy. This is what I've been thinking about. So I was kind of thinking about that. And I was also kind of leaving, again, this trip up to kind of my higher self, my guides, those around me. I just said, you guys handle where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do on this one. So, I'd say about 25 or 30 minutes into lying down, I felt myself go into that middle space. And I was just lying there, and I felt myself go to the left and off of my bed. I always like to, as I go into my descriptions of the beyond body, explain why it is I call it the beyond body and not astral projection. And the reason is because in the beyond body, when I experience this, it feels as if there is no separation between my body. And when I visit these different realities, it feels more like I'm in a physical reality rather than being in a more spirit realm type place. So that's why I call it the beyond body. I've seen many parallel universes, different worlds, those types of things. So I went to the left off of my bed, and then there was motion. Now, as I always tell you, there's usually darkness. Sometimes, as I'm in movement, there is no darkness. There are times when that does happen. And this time was one of them. The only thing I can remember was I was gliding very close to what I perceived to be a floor. And on these floors, they were made of marble. And I remember there were these beautiful, gates that I would come to. I think they were either I went through them or they would open. One of the two. And I would just keep gliding. And I would just keep gliding down these different. And this area I was in when I was going through it was just quite beautiful, very posh and very nice. It reminded me of what you might see if you were in a very nice and beautiful museum, perhaps. The Louvre in Paris, I guess I could think of maybe something like that. It was very nice. My area that I was transporting through was quite nice. And then I arrived in what I labeled in my mind, and this is one thing, if you listen to my videos, I always tell you that as soon as I come back, the memory of what happened begins to fade, and it fades fairly quickly. So it's hard for me to remember things in detail when I come back. So what I do is I like to assign different words to things to help me to remember. So when I first saw the place that I ended up in, because I stopped and then I stood up, and I use the word stuffy to kind of say that this place the area that I was in was almost like a study or a very large, maybe personal office within maybe a mansion or something like that. And this area was so nice. It was beautiful. There was a big, I believe, like a big lazy boy chair, leather, and I believe there may have been like a fireplace, other things that would make the place look as if it was very, I don't know, like the kind of place where if you were standing in there and you were looking around, you might be afraid to touch anything because if you did, you might break something that would be very, very expensive. I think that's the only way I can really explain it to you, because I can't remember every single thing in detail, but to give you the picture of it, it was that kind of place. You know, if you've ever been to a place like that, you'd be scared that if you accidentally knock something over, it would be priceless and you would have no idea how you were going to pay for it. That's what it felt like to me. And in this place, there was a man and I got his attention. He was standing up. I remember he was doing something in this study. And I said hi. I told him what my name was. The man, I don't remember much about him. I think he was white. He may have had a beard, older. And I told him my name and I said, I'm from Earth. And this is the way I'm normally introducing myself nowadays as I'm talking to beings when I meet them. I don't assume that they know where I'm from or what's going on, so I like to introduce myself. And I believe the person said their name was something like Lloyd. Lloyd or something similar to that name is what he said. And when I asked him about what the world was that this was in, where was I? He said the name of the world, but for the life of me, I cannot recall exactly what he said. It's either that or the name may have been so foreign to me that I couldn't remember it, or I wouldn't have been able to pronounce it anyway, whatever this place was that I was in. So as we began to talk, Lloyd and I think we were just exchanging things, like he was telling me what this place was. For some reason, I also think he said something like stars and stripes. I could have sworn he said those two words. And if he did, he may have been referring to where I'm from in the United States. It's interesting because in the previous experience I had, someone mentioned, if you listen to it, and it's this like kind of far into the video, someone mentions the Soviet Union, which was very interesting because no one had ever mentioned the Soviet Union in any of my experiences, but the being I was speaking to had mentioned in my last experience the Soviet Union and was wondering how it was doing, and I guess hadn't been there to our world for that long that they didn't realize that the Soviet Union had dissolved. This person may have mentioned this because they knew that I was from the US and just wanted to say stars and stripes. I'm not sure. But as I spoke to this person, what I remember was there was another man who was in this area. This office area, or this really posh, really nice area was expansive. It wasn't really that small. It was pretty big. And this person was there, standing there, and just as I said that, it's almost like this person seemed to appear, and he said, I'm from Earth as well. I'm from Earth too. And I said, really? And this man, just to give you kind of a picture, He was a young man. He didn't look like he was more than in his 20s. He was wearing a pair of dark overalls, like almost like a farmer would wear. He didn't have an undershirt underneath it. Dark skin, maybe longish hair. He looked like he could be indigenous or maybe native, like a native to a country, like a Native American or something like that. That's the kind of look that he seemed to have. And I looked him over after he said he was from Earth. And I said, now he didn't say this, I said it, and he agreed with me. I looked at him and I said, "You're a traveler like me, aren't you?" And I believe he kind of nodded, yes, he was a traveler. So this is the first time I have ever met another traveler. Wow. Interesting, very, very interesting. And after he acknowledged that he was a traveler, I asked him, I said, and of all the questions, maybe I should have asked him what his name was. I don't know why I decided to ask him this. I asked him, "Do you have a body?" Like, I guess what I was referring to was, do you have a body on Earth? And he said he did not. He did not have a body currently on Earth, and that he was just traveling. And I remember I kind of stepped back, looked at him and said, wow, that's so cool, because like, you don't have attachments. You're just out there. You're just traveling around. You're just moving around the universe, I guess is what I was thinking. But in a sense, I think I was telling him, I think how lucky I thought he was that he was just able to go as he wanted to go, that he was free of any of the attachments that I have on the earth, being that I'm a traveler. And it's interesting also because as I said this, he didn't seem to be overjoyed or excited about it. He seemed to be fairly kind of, I don't know, calm, relaxed. I don't want to say that he seemed sad at all. Melancholy comes to mind. I'm not sure. I couldn't get a good sense of how he felt. I would have figured he would have been more excited being able to do what he did without having attachments. And not to say, I don't want to say that I feel like being on Earth is a burden, although it is quite challenging. And my life is challenging. I'm so sure, just like many of you who are listening to this, your lives are challenging too. I guess I just thought for a moment how cool that would be to have the freedom to be able to go anywhere you want to go in an instant and not have to be worried about coming back to a three-dimensional existence. So I think we spoke for a little while longer, and then I couldn't hold on to this place, wherever it was, and I was back here in my apartment in the 3D world. I would imagine, upon reflection, thinking about this place, that it was more or less maybe a place where travelers come, maybe where they meet, maybe where they hang out, and perhaps we had arranged on some level beyond my conscious mind of meeting and just connecting with one another. Whoever he is, I hope all is well with him. Again, he seemed a bit sad after I was telling him how fortunate and lucky he was to be able to do what he did. And regardless, I wish him well. out there, and perhaps we will see each other again. Seemed like a good guy. Maybe we can talk longer. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.